So, yeah, so there's this game I've been working on for the past number of years, and it's gotten progressively bigger. And yeah, oh yeah, yeah, I know that. Peach is also like me, that he pretty much has no filter. He just says what comes into mind. But we've got. I guess that Facebook invite thing works of making an event and inviting people and putting it on Discord because I've got a few new people here, which is awesome. So so I've got this over at let's see. So I've got this over at Facebook Fox and Board Games, and that's what I'm going to publish Tales of the Hard Land under. And I also have two other projects that I've talked a little bit about, not too much publicly. The first is Citadels of Jarka, which is a a board game, a science fiction board game with overtones of Dune and Settlers of Catan, and this whole idea of resource exploitation and resource trading and building, and a little bit of combat, a little bit of warfare, but it's got this very gold rush feeling on this mineral and gas rich planet, with these five races, extraterrestrial races. Well, to them they're not extraterrestrial, they're not aliens, right? They're the normal ones. um, yeah, oh good, a new Pathfinder 2e, cool. Yeah, give it a shot. I mean, give it a shot. Like I said, I want to stream Call of Cthulhu right now. And I think the group is like right down the middle as far as whether they'd be up for streaming or not. I know like half the group is like definitely into it, but I mean, if we're gonna do that for Call of Cthulhu, we've got to do the whole candlelight, the dress up. I've got to do the whole thing. It's the Old West setting, as a couple of you know, Justin in particular, the deranged. Well, he's not deranged. He's perfectly fine. The Undertaker, the town Undertaker. But Pathfinder 2, I love Pathfinder 2. I've only played it thanks to a couple friends, but I haven't run it yet. But yeah, see if your players are willing to give it a shot. Like a couple people have said like, well, if we start streaming, we got to hold back and censor ourselves. I'm like, no, you don't. I'm like, no, you don't. You absolutely do not. In fact, probably the more ridiculous it is, the more people will love it. So Fox and Board Games will be coming out. Will be produced um, producing Tales of the Hard Land, Citadels of Jarka board game. Another game that I've been teasing about called Trash Sexy, about raccoons, which started out as this utter joke. Started out as this complete joke on a text thread with Blake and Neil, who were my two longtime gaming friends. And of course, by the time that this text thread was done, over an hour, the idea had both totally degenerated, and people were, they were both like, well, you should just write this up. This could be the thing that actually sells, right? That's the sad part. I mean, I'm thinking this very minimalist, almost maybe progressive tile or progressive encounter role playing game that are randomly generated encounters, that you almost don't even need a GM for, but you could have one, and you all play raccoons, and your whole point is to go out and eat trash and have sex. That's the entire point of the game. Thus the name Trash Sexy. There's different raccoon races, not race species, classes that I've already kind of drafted up and teased out on Twitter. And people got like really excited about it. I'm like, oh god, here we go. I'm gonna make you eat about raccoons. So Fox and Board Games. That's what's going to be happening. I'm slowly changing all of my branding on various social media to Fox and Board Games. That would be Twitter, Facebook, and Twitter. That other one, Instagram. Yeah, that thing. Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. At this, the video cast, both the home of this Twitch stream and the accompanying YouTube channel, is still from thetomes.com. I think I'll keep that as a related but separate entity. That's where I'm going with that. So I guess now the big news. I don't know if everybody here's heard it. I think from our core group, our real life in game group, or our regular real life in game group, I think only Diana and Mel know. But yesterday I was informed I've received a year sabbatical from Raritan Valley Community College to develop said gaming content and gaming company as an interface to their game development and game art program, which I wrote. And I wrote the game art program in conjunction with Bill Crosby, who teaches game development. So I'm getting paid to work on a game for a year. Thanks, Justin. I figured you might find this exciting. It is rather surreal, and I've made the joke several times today to my colleagues. Whoever thought 40 years of playing Dungeons and Dragons would pay off, right? I mean, it's kind of unreal. Like I was joking around with Neil and Blake, like if 15-year-old you had been told there was even a chance that you would be able to get paid by a college for a year to create games in an academic context, like would you even understand what this meant? It's like a joke, right? And it's all timing, right? I mean, let's face it, the pandemic, so many more people are gaming and gaming online, even playing D&D online, than ever have before. Like, and you guys know what I'm gonna say, because none of you, I think, consider yourselves normal, just like me. Normal people are out there playing D&D online tonight, right? Like people who never had any access to this, thanks to Critical Role, thanks to Stranger Things, thanks to remember they played it once in high school, right? Now they're gonna play it again. So it's this kind of bizarre space. Yeah, well, right, exactly. We've talked about this before, Peach, is that, we used to be the outcast. I joke with my students about this. One of my students last week, I teach my game class this semester on Fridays. She was like, yeah, she's like, I heard it used to be like not cool at all to play these games. I just laughed at her. I'm like, you were like the biggest outcast among outcasts, not even like the burnouts wanted to hang out with you because you were too uncool, right? Because you were there playing Dungeons. They'll half them play Dungeons and Dragons too. They just played it really stoned. Like at least where I went to school, I started playing with all these burnouts, all smoking weed and dropping acid before playing D&D. I was pretty what was going on at those games. But some of these guys were like dropping acid and coming in and playing the game. So it was just like, it's this surreal experience that all of the sudden this is now a thing. And there absolutely is. And even now there is. Like a couple of my game students who are very smart, very good gamers, very good designers would have been in that burnout category. Of course, now it's legal in Jersey, so maybe it's a different culture now, which is fine with me too. But this idea that like I'm getting paid to sit home and develop this game. Now they want at least one board game and one the RPG, both of which are underway. The RPG, the core of the RPG is written. Now it's just actually composing the document, creating, fleshing out the world. And it's also the board game, the Citadels of Jarka board game is in progress. It's in beta testing. I have a prototype board and in pieces and everything. And of course, the big angst is I was going to be out at PAX and a couple other big conventions and maybe even at Gen Con these past 2 years promoting all this. Surprise, surprise, that sure didn't work out. But now is the time. And I also gave them statistics that the gaming industry, largely video games, of course, but games in general are now a $140 billion industry. And there is this big crossover now between the video game world and the pen and paper RPG world and the board gaming world. My proposal went to a committee, and I was very fortunate on several regards. One, they were a very friendly committee. I don't know how many of you have been in academia or been around academia, but all it takes is one person on a committee to hate your guts for whatever perceived or real reason, and you're sunk, right? Your proposal is sunk. I had a very friendly committee, a very supportive committee,